I have a theory about being an artist, and I think it's just you're an artist, you know, and then you're looking for a way to be an artist, and you're going to be very unhappy if you don't find a way to be an artist. But you do feel like you're born that way. It's weird. I feel like Delusionville. I feel this whole space. I know what it feels like. It's like a weird dream, and a dream is very amorphous.
The American dream is nightmare.
It's about these characters in the strange underworld where they all live. It's a type of art called pop surrealism. It kind of pulls and reinvents pop culture, you know, in your own language.
Hi, my name is Ron English, and this is a new project called The Rabbits. Once in the timeline of planet Earth, a spaceship with a crew of alien rabbits crash-landed. A pack of wolves who witnessed the crash looked upon the rabbits as a takeout order from outer space, and they happily made a meal out of most of the stunned crew. A couple of rabbits managed to escape the wolf feast by hopping down a hole in the Earth's surface created by the blast from their malfunctioning propulsion system. There they found a paradise safe from the howling wolves of the surface world. The buzzards also witnessed the crash and made a meal of the wolves' leftovers. Still hungry, they searched out the escaped rabbits down the rabbit hole. There they discovered an uninhabited underworld. Instead of eating the rabbits, who proved too fast to catch anyway, they made a pact to take ownership of all the land that promised to be a new paradise for the buzzards, and charged the rabbits rent for a small plot on the less desirable side of a babbling brook that divided the underground haven. The lopsided deal also made sense to the rabbits when the buzzards also agreed to abstain from eating rabbits so long as the rabbits offered the buzzards an alternative food source. The buzzards were very happy with their new situation. On surface Earth, they were homeless scavengers. Now they were land-owning royalty. The rabbits too were sort of happy. Because, well, they were still alive. So all was well for a time in paradise. Sun beamed down the rabbit hole for a couple hours a day, enabling a rainbow of beautiful and exotic plant life to thrive along the babbling brook that divided the sanctuary beneath the surface. The rabbits stayed on their side of the brook, farming enough carrots to satisfy both the buzzards' appetite and the appetites of their growing rabbit population, fueled by perpetual rabbit intercourse. The buzzards too were happy, collecting rent from the rabbits and feasting on their carrots, and on whatever unlucky surface animals happened to fall down the rabbit hole. And all was joy and happiness until one day, the unspeakable happened. A big fat pig fell down the rabbit hole, landing on and crushing to death Grandpa Buzzard. The pig was too big and too mean to make a meal out of, so they came to an uneasy truce with the swine. The pig would be allowed to live on the good side of the brook with the buzzards, who would grant him a long-term lease on a piece of prime real estate. The pig came to serve a very useful purpose in the burgeoning community. The pig became the banker, and he invented official currency, and even a system of taxation enabling grand infrastructure projects and career politicians. The pig handled the newly minted currency, collected taxes, lent the rabbits money to build a home, and even hired one of the rabbits to create a memorial to the flattened buzzard. Paradise had become ambitious, which guaranteed its long-term success. Hopefully. One day a lost sheep stumbled down the rabbit hole. The buzzards rejoiced at the manna meal from heaven, but before the feast began, the lone sheep intervened with a plea. The only thing that could descend from heaven would be angels, which meant the sheep that stood before them was in fact a fallen angel come to save their mortal souls. This didn't exactly seem possible, but who in their right minds would gamble their mortal soul for an easy breakfast? The sheep was allowed to live. The lost sheep then asked for a plot of land on the buzzard side of the brook to be gifted to him and his progeny in perpetuity, and that the property would be eternally exempt from any taxation for now and forever. This proposal brought an end to the patience that had defined the buzzards throughout history. The sheep would not be an acceptable addition to the upper-scale right-wing community and would have to engage their future on the bad side of the babbling brook. As far as their not paying taxes, however, whatever. The buzzards weren't all too thrilled about these new taxations implemented by the pigs. The buzzards had refused to pay them and were pretty sure they would be abolished in short order anyway. Of course, the other animals dutifully paid taxes, and the sheep's exempt status made them very rich and powerful over time. So the lost sheep set up shop on the rabbit side of the brook, where he founded the first church of paradise. The new religion brought a sense of unity and spirituality to the young community. All was well, for a brief time. Then came the turtle. His hard shell made him an unattainable meal, and his even harder attitude made him unworthy of the buzzard side of the brook, which was fine for the unambitious turtle. Animals, with their tireless greed, had virtually destroyed the surface world. He was against it there, and even more against it in his newly found paradise. The turtle would begrudgingly pay the buzzard's rent and the pig's taxes from the fish he caught in the babbling brook, but he would never join the army of ambition that threatened paradise. One day the duck mistook the rabbit hole for a refreshing puddle, a mistake that landed her in paradise and on the buzzard's dinner table. The fast-talking duck convinced her dinner companions that a duck was worth more than a single meal, because a duck laid eggs. Who in their right mind would trade a single dinner for a lifetime of egg breakfast? The buzzards agreed with the idea of the eggs, and offered to rent the duck a plot on the bad side of the babbling brook in exchange for an egg a day, and a guarantee they would not eat her. The duck assessed the proposition for a minute, and then she countered. A duck of her talents needed to be on the upperly mobile side of the brook, because her eggs were, in fact, golden. Not so much in color as in content. Her eggs had magical powers. Her eggs made you believe your own bull. The buzzards saw the value in this, and they took her deal. All the animals reveled in their own beliefs, and all was well, for a while. Then came the wolf. Prowling the surface world in search of tasty animal snacks, the wolf sniffed out a cornucopia of animal odors wafting from a hole. His curious snout led him over the edge and down the rabbit hole. The wolf was knocked unconscious by his fall, and he awoke without memory of who he was. The confused canine was offered salvation and sanctuary in exchange for his loyalty and hard work. The buzzards offered him a plot of land on the bad side of the babbling brook, and more manual labor than he could handle. All the animals were happy for the cheap labor, and all was well. For a while. Over the years, more animals stumbled down the rabbit hole and found their places in the newfound paradise. All the landscape that received sunlight from the rabbit hole was lush and beautiful with vegetation. This land was soon full of happy animals. As the population grew, the animals explored deeper into their underground world. In the far-reaching landscape, beyond the glow of sunshine, things got darker, grayer, and foreboding. The perimeters of paradise were to be avoided. It was rumored that these forbidden regions were patrolled by feral clown kid soldiers, called comrades, actual humans. Now, any animal knows that humans will only turn animals into pets, slaves, or food. They were to be avoided at any cost. So paradise now had boundaries. But things were still going pretty well for the animals, and it seemed like things would go that way forever. This is the real origin story of Delusionville. Of course, all the animals have their own versions of the story. They're also true in their own ways. No animal of Delusionville ever returned to the surface world, even though they certainly could. The surface world became a place of distant memories and mythology. The surface world became their heaven. A heaven no one was willing to venture to and possibly disprove. The eggs provided by the ducks were now called quack. And it fueled such a delusional state in all the animals that they actually named their town Delusionville. Never mind quack was a placebo. If you believe, it doesn't have to be true. History was lost to these mythologies, and new facts were manufactured by the pigs in a fact factory. Of course, as it is in most utopias, there were a certain amount of unsanctioned facts. Hard to regulate these facts. But the animals were not just fact-based. They were also deeply spiritual. New religions were created by all the different animals, every faith tradition being the best and the most real one ever. Most notably, the Church of the Magic Lamb, invented by the sheep, who also invented God and got her, or as they say, she, a nice gated community on top of a cloud that was produced by a cloud factory. Enterprising, don't you think? But I digress, which is a good thing in small doses, like quack. The greatest thing about Delusionville was that it was this new world of the animal's own design. Untainted by the meddling hand of humanity. Perfect. Nothing could go wrong. Ever.